Huh, behind the scenes.
Yep.
We're back.
Mm-hmm.
Behind the shell.
Alejandro's back. And we're ready to rock and roll.
There we are.
Wow. New week, new topic.
New weekly.
New weekly. I approached the subject weekly. I was very weak.
Oh, okay. That's okay. Now we're on the same page.
I'm just playing with my words. We hope you enjoy our behind the scenes. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Here we go. Welcome to the State of the Ozarks podcast. This is Josh Heston, Editor-in-Chief.
And this is Ethan Grubaugh.
And we're talking about our Ozarks.
Your community.
And this episode of Been Thinking About has been brought to you by...
Artist Christine Reitzel, Beauty from Light.
Stafford's Barbershop and Shave Company, the place for men in downtown Branson.
Shepherd the Musical, Rediscovering America's Story.
Blue Rock Print Company, upgrade your look.
And the Taney County Health Department, creating opportunities for healthy lives in our community.
New folks.
Yeah.
I know. And next week, Christine will be in the studio.
Ooh.
Excited.
Yeah.
Excited. Christine is one of my favorite artists. And she is the, well, of course we'll talk about it more next week, but she's kind of the godmother of the State of the Ozarks community.
Really?
Yeah, we'll get into that more.
Oh, okay.
More next week.
Gotcha.
So, Colcannon.
Yeah.
You have not had Colcannon.
I've not had Colcannon.
I'm so sorry.
I just thought it was a type of cannon.
It's a cold cannon. No, it's not.
Okay.
Of course, it's the recipe.
Air cannons.
Potato cannons. And it's made from potatoes.
T-shirt cannons.
It's a potato cannon.
Oh, okay.
It's a giant potato cannon.
Ooh.
It's actually what's left over from the inside of the barrel from the potato cannon.
Oh.
Blow up the potato. No, it's not. It's not really. It's the recipe this week.
Yeah.
I wanted something Irish. Imagine that.
Yeah.
And
let's see. It starts with 6 medium-sized boiled potatoes, so we're already at a good, good start.
Couple of shots of whiskey,
Yeah.
and we're good to go.
And of course, cabbage.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Did you know that the white potato is not native to Ireland?
I think I heard about that.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, you might have told me about that.
I think it was me.
Yeah.
I'm the repository of pointless encyclopedic knowledge.
You know that coconuts are not native to the tropics either.
Ah,
They floated down
yes.
there, and then
but from where?
I can't remember.
Outer space?
But yes, coconuts do migrate.
The great coconut migration of 1798.
Well, that was a fun fact for you.
Yeah.
Potatoes.
Potatoes. Well, potatoes are native to Peru.
Peru.
Yes, the northern portion of South America.
Mm-hmm.
And were brought back to Europe from, as a new exciting plant from the New World, along with tomatoes.
Oh, yeah.
And chili peppers and chocolate.
Ah.
Yes. And, and then, of course, became part of the culture and part of the food culture, ultimately. Because, can you really imagine Italian pasta without a tomato sauce?
There's Alfredo.
Yes, there is.
But it's not the same.
It's not the same.
No.
No. But up before 1492, there was no possibility of Italian sauce made out of tomatoes. Yes.
Yeah.
Of course, they were originally called love apples, and they were believed to be poisonous.
I think you told me that too.
It took a while for them to catch on, especially in England. So for a long time, even through I think Elizabethan England, when Queen Elizabeth was queen, in the late 16th century, they were regarded with suspicion. But potatoes were not regarded with suspicion and became a staple crop of Ireland. Also became a staple crop in northern continental Europe. And so you're going to find a lot of potato dishes in that entire space. You're going to find lots of potato dishes in that entire space. And then, of course, our ancestors of, those of us in the United States with ancestry that involves England or modern-day Germany or Ireland or Scotland or Wales, we brought all of these potato recipes with us on the way over, or something, similar.
Yeah.
So much of our potato cuisine, and of course Colcannon's a kind of an original on that, so much of the potato cuisine, of course the potatoes started in South America, were brought back to Spain on the galleons, and then were spread throughout Europe, and then became part of the Northern European cuisine culture, and then was brought back to North America, in the United States and Canada, with the migration of European colonists over. So, interesting circle.
And we've done some great things with potatoes.
Oh, we have. Potatoes are my favorite kind of people.
Hash browns, French fries, whiskey.
I think that's vodka.
Yeah, same thing.
It's close enough.
At some point, you'd quit telling.
It's so true. I got some really good vodka from Santa Fe. Anyway, super good. But Colcannon is something that I think if you've not tried it before, we're obsessing over our potatoes, but if you've not tried Colcannon before and you're a little bit picky, you might want to set the picky side of your brain over a little bit, because it involves a lot of cabbage mixed in with the... it's essentially mashed potatoes that you saute cabbage beforehand, very finely minced cabbage. Saute that in butter, then along with onions, and then more butter, and then you mix that in with the mashed potatoes. And it's one of my favorite, very, very favorite dishes in the whole world. So I'll make it one of these days.
Okay.
But it tied in, it was a really interesting experience, because of course I know that a lot of my family, especially on my mom's side, is Celtic, but I don't have a lot of really clear genealogical ties outside of the Gwynn family. And I think that in many cases that we carry our traditions closely with our food. I think that food and tradition is unconsciously passed from one generation to another. And this is a little bit of an aside, but something really awful happened between 1950 and 1970, and that was the homogenization of American cuisine. We lost a lot of traditional foods during that time with the industrialization of the American food supply. And it was really sort of the end of the process where most Americans, the majority of Americans, had moved from farms to cities and then to suburbs. And I saw actually there a headline that in the state of Florida, it is no longer illegal to grow food in your front yard.
I mean, it was before?
It could be. Cities could enact ordinances, and apparently had, that said that you could not garden in your front yard. You could not grow food in your front yard, like within, the city limits.
Yeah, we had a garden in the backyard for a few years growing up, so
yeah,
that's weird for me to hear.
Your dad and I keep threatening to get chickens, put them between the houses.
Oh.
Yeah, they'll be like crowing loudly at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Let's not do that. Not yet.
But I love chickens. We'll get them next fall.
Okay.
We'll get them next spring.
There you go.
Yeah. Early wake up.
Neighbor has a pig.
Yes, they do.
Actually, I haven't seen the pig in a while, so I'm a
I've
little
not.
worried.
Maybe they have bacon. We're in the outskirts of town.
Yeah.
And so, and I, as you have already noted, I collect cookbooks.
Mm-hmm.
So starting in the 1960s, you begin to see a proliferation, especially in magazines, of recipes that involve like 1 can of cream of mushroom soup and, 1 box of Stouffer's stovetop stuffing and these types of things. And this is an industrialized, this is like rehashing prepackaged, pre-processed industrial food.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is. And it was a commercial plan And of course, it was the American food industry that was now producing all of these things that people were going, why would I want to buy something out of a box when I could just make it myself? I do believe that there was quite a bit of resistance, comparatively, certainly in some areas, to the idea that we would all be buying the same food.
Mm-hmm.
And so the idea that we proliferate the community, or we proliferate society with these recipes, that then you get the recipe and then you buy the product to make the recipe. This was unheard of up until comparatively recent times, and yet it has been so acclimated or so pervasive in our culture that it has erased a lot of traditional foods, and it has replaced it with new traditions, and either the best or the worst, depending on how you feel about it. And I have a love relationship with this dish. Is green bean casserole.
Can be done well.
Yes, it can. Now, my grandma would make it according to the recipe. She made a lot of stuff herself too,
Mm-hmm.
but she would make it. But you look at the ingredients. All of the ingredients are all prepackaged.
Oh, I guess you're right.
You have canned green beans. You have canned cream of mushroom soup. You have French fried onions over the top of it.
Mm-hmm.
Every piece of it is a commercially marketed food product that was basically sold to the American public so that we would buy more of those products.
And delivered to the Sunday potluck.
Yeah. It is not a Southern Baptist potluck without green bean casseroles showing up to say hello.
Or potato casserole or tater tot casserole.
Tater tot casserole. Tater tots is another marketed product.
Yeah.
That
one's good.
And I like it too.
Yeah.
I like it too. And and it really is one of those things. I'm not saying that those foods aren't delicious.
Yeah.
Because they can be. Of course, I have had some green bean casseroles that were absolutely disgusting.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, I grew up, like, my favorite canned soup in the whole world was cream of mushroom soup. And I have not actually eaten it on its own in, 20 years.
Oh.
More as a protest than anything else. Plus, I'm trying to cut down on my monosodium glutamate.
Yeah, okay.
MSG.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, that's a lot of big words.
MSG.
Really fast. And
Oh, and since we don't have the time, I'm going to tell you about monosodium glutamate.
All right.
It's an interesting bit of food history, and it ties into what we're talking about. Basically, the situation of corporations bulldozing over our existent culture.
That's the American dream.
Where's my bulldozer? So, I believe in the 1920s, a Japanese corporation called Ajinomoto, I believe I have that right, managed to splice out and then synthesize starch, or basically create monosodium glutamate from starch. Okay, and its flavor profile in the Japanese language, I believe, is called umami. It's basically in English and American, we talk about things having a sweet flavor or a sour flavor or a salty flavor. Umami, the description is essentially a savory flavor, like a delicious savory flavor. It was originally derived from a seaweed, which was used traditionally, but the Ajinomoto Corporation found a way to synthesize it using pretty much any kind of starch. You can use corn base, you can use a wheat base, that sort of thing. And so they did, and they could produce it really, really cheaply. Its technical name is monosodium glutamate. And so you can produce this product really cheaply, and then you can place it in meat products or canned foods or whatever, and it imbues them with this admittedly delicious synthesized savory meat flavor that people just want to keep eating. Now, American culture was largely unfamiliar with this until World War II. And I think this actually started probably in New Guinea. American and Allied troops had defeated a lot of the Japanese forces in New Guinea, and as a result, as they were defeating the forces, they were gathering the Japanese stockpiles of weapons and food and opening up these tins of meat, and these tins of meat tasted amazing. So incredibly delicious, you didn't want to stop eating them. As opposed to the American rations that did not taste amazing, like you couldn't stop eating them.
You didn't want to start.
You didn't know. And so that news and that information made its way back after the end of World War II. The synthesization or the development and the addition of monosodium glutamate into American processed foods became a really, really big deal. There's still a lot of foods with MSG. It is GRAS generally recognized as safe, but there are some folks and some very reputable folks who point out that it may have very negative effects on the body. Specifically that it may function as an excitotoxin or a neurotoxin in the brain, which is part of the reason why it's basically an addictive flavor.
Mm.
And Doritos are dusted with it.
Oh, but they're so good.
I know, it's one of my favorite things. So I'm not going to tell anyone. I'm a journalist. I'm not going to tell anybody what to eat at this point. But it is something that I've been really mindful of. And of course, canned soup is notorious for having enormous amounts of MSG. Mm-hmm. Completely as an aside, it also masquerades under a whole bunch of other names, like hydrolyzed soy protein. So there's so many things that technically have something like MSG in it. Mm-hmm. But the bottom line is that it makes you want to keep eating it. And the other bottom line is that you can use subpar or basic, you can use low quality products, dust it with this flavor enhancer, and it tastes so incredibly amazing that even though you were using really cheap products, nobody knows any different. And they eat it like at 3 times the rate. Which is kind of sneaky.
Yeah, very sneaky.
And now you know.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, all of that's on the internet. You guys can, look it up and decide for yourself. I'm not telling anybody what to do. And for the record, I really love Doritos, but I don't eat them very often.
Yeah, I don't, because I don't stop when I do.
I wonder why that is.
Because they're amazing.
Yes.
They got amazing nacho flavor.
Yes, they do. You might say they were addictive.
Yeah.
So coming back, I got so off topic. Coming back to this, get ready for another story. I was probably about 15, stopped at a garage sale in Chillicothe, Illinois, and they had cookbooks, and I've always liked cookbooks, actually, since I was like 6. And one of them was Time Life magazine's cookbook for the British Isles. Cooking for the British Isles. Well, come to find out, it's really authentic. You've seen, that's the book that we pull a lot of recipes out of.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I have 2 copies. I have a little spiral-bound copy that I got in the garage sale, and then I have the big hardback copy that I got at the flea market. And in there, it had a recipe for Colcannon. I had no idea what Colcannon was, but I had read it. It sounded good. Maybe 5-6 years later, I decided to make it. Never had Colcannon. Never talked about Colcannon. None of this. My mom and I made it together. Finished it up, put it on the table. She took a bite of it and went, Grandma Gwen made this. I don't know what she called it, but Grandma Gwen made this. I can't prove it, but I am convinced that recipe was passed down through my family from the British Isles. And Grandma Gwen, who was my great-grandmother, was still making it. Recipe got lost and then essentially refound.
Wow.
So I do think that we hold a lot of traditions that way.
My family just knows how to fry fish.
Frying fish is an amazing thing.
Yeah.
Your dad's a pretty good bread maker.
Yeah, he is. He hasn't made any in a while.
No.
I mean, not like his bread.
Yeah. I'm considering putting in an official request for challah for Easter.
Oh, yeah. We had that last year, and it was really good.
Yes. And we've got 2 articles.
Yep.
2 articles this week.
We got one on May apple.
Yes. I love May-apples. Are you familiar with, before the article, were you familiar with May-apples?
Not really.
We should go find some. There's a big herd of them on the way to church, actually. Just after you turn on the way to Greenbridge, when you go past Finley River Rodeo Park, and then you turn on Greenbridge Road.
Okay. So
as you're turning that way, going towards church, and then there's a hill on the side that the deer like to hop out in front of you.
Yeah.
Down at the base of that hill next to the road, there's a big patch of May-apples.
I did not know that.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, and we had growing up, and they're native to essentially your hardwood forests of North America, your temperate hardwood forests, and so grew up with them where I grew up in Illinois, but you could find them in Pennsylvania, Ohio, or Kentucky or Tennessee, or of course the Ozarks, and Iowa as well. And I think they're so cool. They look like umbrellas, which we'll come back to. And then what's the other? I think
it's about dogwoods.
Yeah. And would you go ahead and click on that?
Yeah.
That article. Invite everybody else to read along with me in your book.
Yeah.
Click on the article.
Stand by for loading. All right, article loaded. Pictures are on their way.
Awesome. Yeah, let me see this for a minute. There's the legend of the dogwood, and it's essentially cover this really quickly, but a short bit of it. Before the crucifixion of Jesus, and of course this is the legend, the dogwood was a great majestic tree, rivaling even the oaks and cedars of Lebanon. As such, it was chosen for the cross upon which Jesus was nailed. Of course, it wasn't. But that's the legend.
Yeah.
It's a very beautiful legend. And then talking about the fact that the blossoms are symbolic of the crucifixion. So I think that is really cool. What is also really cool, I was going to they shout out, because Mike Britton with Britton Farms, good friend of your dad's, went and he added a comment that I wanted to share. He said, he said, I would like to add the last of the dogwood story. In the fall, the leaves turn slightly red and resemble the stains that ran down the cross, and the seeds are crimson red and appear to be drops of fresh blood on the tips of the branches.
Ooh.
Yeah. So, and of course, we understand this is symbolism. The dogwood is native to North America. Both species of this are native to North America. But it is such beautiful symbolism. And I was really, really excited to get Mike's comments on that. So I really was excited to be able to share.
That's really cool.
And of course, got some of my favorite pictures of the mountain dogwood on the article. So hope people like that.
Yeah.
And and then we have a poem.
A poem.
I'm doing all the talking. I should make you read it, but I'll read this and then.
Okay, I'm not good at reading out loud, so it'd be like sitting in a class in middle school.
Oh, we'll get you up to speed.
Okay.
And I'm not big on the whole like rhetoric and drama of, fan dancing. No.
Interpretive dance.
Interpretive dance. Yeah. Oh, I saw this meme the other day. It said, "How would you best describe yourself?" And then the answer was, "Well, verbally, but I have also prepared an interpretive dance." So, and if anybody starts getting mad at me for like making fun of dance, I've spent like 15 years as a Irish dancer at a certain level. So I do Zumba once a week. So I love dance. I think State of the Ozarks just should collectively get together and do Zumba.
I grew up Baptist. We're not allowed to.
Apparently it's a growing up part because I'm Baptist too. But nice out though.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Use that all the time.
Fair enough. Oh, there was an old Irish proverb that said, "Never give a sword to a man who can't dance."
I got 5, so someone did something wrong.
Well, I guess one of those swords was given to you.
Yeah. 2, actually.
2. Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I gave you one too.
Yeah.
What was I thinking?
I know.
I wasn't listening to my own proverb. So sad.
I got a problem.
We got to teach you how to dance.
Okay.
When you doing Friday at 9? Time for Zumba.
Oh gosh.
Oh my god, yeah. So, The Elf and the Dormouse. I love this, and even though it talks about toadstools, it always reminded me of the Mayapple, and I always thought, and Tara Wolf, big shout out to Tara Wolf with Love My Ozarks, great group. She was posting about Mayapples yesterday, and she said that she always thought that they look like umbrellas, and there should be a little elf underneath one of them, and I had to post on there and went, yeah, so did I. And that's what this speaks to. This is a poem by Oliver Herford, from my childhood. I've been familiar with this particular poem since I was about 5 years old, called The Elf and the Dormouse. Under a toadstool crept a wee elf, out of the rain to shelter himself. Under the toadstool, sound asleep, sat a big dormouse all in a heap. Trembled the wee elf, frightened and yet fearing to fly away lest he get wet. To the next shelter, maybe a mile. Sudden the wee elf smiled a wee smile. Tugged till the toadstool toppled in two. Holding it over him, gaily he flew. Soon he was safe home, dry as could be. Soon woke the dormouse, good gracious me. Where is my toadstool? Loud he lamented. And that's how umbrellas first were invented. You're welcome. We, of course, invite people to check all that out on everything.
Yeah, on the weekly.
On the weekly. And sign up for the weekly so they can get more content like that.
I know.
Delivered to their email every single week. Sunday at 5 o'clock.
Stay tuned.
Yes, exactly. So, to learn more, visit us on stateoftheozarks.net.
Sign up for the State of the Ozarks weekly email.
Like State of the Ozarks on Facebook.
Follow at Soto Media on Twitter.
Subscribe to Soto Media on YouTube.
Follow us on Instagram at State of the Ozarks.
And subscribe to this Been Thinking About podcast on iTunes. And we thank you for listening to Been Thinking About, the State of the Ozarks podcast with Josh.
And Ethan.
And this is our Ozarks.
Your community.
You just proved why I think once we get it solid on how we're more efficient on doing our short weekly podcast, why we should do a long form.
I like
and
it.
if we could do like once a month.
I like
long
it.
form, because you just talked about stupid, not stupid, but like you talked about the industrialization of food and the issues there. And that could be a whole. You just
thing.
talked about that food thing. You didn't even talk about the article. And you